Okay, let's talk about the movie Get Out. One, because it's a real popular topic, and I like the movie anyway. But I don't want to just argue it from the race angles, because there are angles in it that I saw, not just as a black person, but definitely as a martial artist. And there's one particular thing, I don't know if I have the courage to really talk about it, because I know I'm going to offend some people. I might even offend people that I know. But if I work up the courage, I'll bring up that point. The first easy low hanging fruit in terms of martial arts is the style versus style posturing that happened in the movie. Okay, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. The main thing I'm talking about is, remember the dinner scene where the brother asks Chris what type of sports he did? Did he ask him if he did MMA and, I do jujitsu. Have you ever done anything? And he said, I did judo. I've had that practically identical conversation with different people, not just one person. Over the years, you got the whole that was a perfect style versus style conversation where typically, I don't mean to pick on jujitsu people because there's another style that really does it a lot too. But for the purposes of this movie, it was a jujitsu player swearing that his martial art was supreme and trying to act like his jujitsu was better than the guy's judo. He'd been drinking and he wanted to try to goad the guy into a wrestling match so he could prove that his jujitsu was better than his judo. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know the whole purpose of that was just to try to size him up and see if he'd be easier to abduct slash kidnap slash put in the chair and remove his brain. So that's what that was ultimately about. But I still like the whole style versus style thing. And another thing on that note, I often wondered if what was happening in Get Out was real, would being a martial artist make someone a harder target to pick? Now, I know the brother knows jujitsu, and he probably would think he could just kidnap any striker. It's not true, but that's probably what he would think. But since I forgot the girl's name, but since the girl that's used as bait, it seems like she sizes up the people that she's going to kidnap, and she's going to help kidnap. I wonder if she would, let's say she started a relationship with a guy, she found out that he knew. I'm pausing because I heard something. Okay. Well, I have a means of self-defense very close by, so if anybody tries anything, and hint, it's not punching and kicking or throwing a penny. Anyway, so I wonder if the girl knew that someone was a really good martial artist, she thought that they were a really good fighter, if she would break off the relationship and not pursue trying to get their body because they'd be too much trouble to abduct. So that's something I thought about. Like if somebody had my skill level back when they were young, they wouldn't want this middle-aged body. There's no, you don't want this. It's too many problems now. But there are young people, I've met them, like the guy I told people about in my Whistle Kick interview, men. Men is a Korean person, not a black person. Somebody like that would probably not be good abduction material. Because if somebody tried to abduct men or anybody like that, they'd be hurt. Or like a young Mike Tyson. That's probably would not be worth the abduction because it would not go well for the person trying to do the abduction. Just like when a guy tried to kidnap me when I was 15 years old. Big white dude tried to kidnap me. I went in the fighting stance. He backed off. So that's one thing to think about. Another thing from a low-hanging fruit martial arts standpoint, remember when in the beginning the first victim is walking through this neighborhood at night, bad awareness, just thrown out the safety practices, preventative self-defense practices just thrown out the window. You're walking through a neighborhood that you don't know, In the dark, that's bad. Come on, no weapon, nothing. At least he was on the phone with someone, but it seemed like as soon as he hung up the phone, he got snatched. So that's definitely unwise. You don't walk through an area that you don't know. I don't care how nice you think the neighborhood is. That's a no-no. And especially those of us who are, not of the majority persuasion, we have to remember that we can be in danger from authorities as well as from criminals. So that's all the more reason to not be walking around any place at night. Because you don't want to, there's a lot of people used to joke. I know, definitely back in the 90s, used to make the joke, oh, you fit the description. You fit the description. So you know what's going to happen to you. Who was that made that joke? The guy that played Day Day and Fridays. You look suspect. Yep, you look suspect. You look suspect. And people say that in real life too. You look suspect going through some of these neighborhoods, son. You better watch yourself. So, if you know you're going to look suspect and because you're not in your element, don't walk through there at night. There used to be a phenomenon called sundown towns. Please look that up. Look up sundown towns, where it was literally not safe for a black person in the United States to be in those towns after sundown. You were in danger, Will Robinson. You were in danger. I still don't really have the courage to talk about this topic. I'm going to have to talk around because I don't want to alienate somebody over a stupid YouTube video. But the whole thing of Get Out, and people want to put this in just a black and white, literally black and white thing, but it's not. This is the idea of a colonized mind being put into someone else's body. See, sometimes we're martial artists. Some of us, not all of us, it's like we're looking to have our minds colonized. We don't want to just appreciate and learn about another culture. It's like we try to become like that other culture to the point that we are doing things in our daily lives that are from that other culture that don't really fit us, don't really fit what we really are. And, and it's kind of weird, Well, I'll pick on myself. One thing I do, I have to get out of the habit of bowing because the world is not a dojo or a dojo. Sometimes I bow because I bow on and off the mat. I bow my students in for Taekwondo or Judo. Well, why am I bowing any other time? Why? I didn't grow up in Japan or Korea. Why am I bowing? I know it's a sign of respect. Why am I doing that? If anything, I should be doing this. That's what I grew up seeing. Why am I bowing? You even see people. Let's say they're studying a Japanese martial art. That's not the only martial arts branch that people are guilty of this. They're studying a Japanese martial art, so they start wearing Japanese clothes in regular life. Why do you do that? You may start greeting people in Japanese that are not. Why do you do that? It's fine to have an appreciation and to fall in love with another culture. That's fine, but just don't take it to this strange place. And they'll take it to a point. I started doing this too, and I stopped myself. When you do something and you meet someone that's from the culture who grew up in the country where your art supposedly comes from, you do something that you think is a greeting or whatever because you do it in your studio or gym wherever you train. If you do it and they look at you like you're crazy, you're being weird. That's it. You do something, they give you this look. Or they try to be polite, they just go, you're being stupid. You're going off in weird land. That's what you're doing. It's just like, I know I made this mistake when I was learning Spanish. I still don't have Spanish down. I'm like at a child level with it. When I was learning Spanish, and sometimes I would try to speak Spanish to Spanish people, and they'd be going along, and then I'd say something, they go, and they just break in English. No, you didn't mean that. You said, no, you just said blah blah. No, 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 no. That's not what that means. Oh, you took classes, didn't you? When they start going, oh, you took or something like that, you're getting weird. There's no need for you to walk around in the clothing from that culture if you didn't grow up there and you weren't doing that before you started studying that martial art. Now, I know a lot of us, I'm guilty too, we like to walk around in some of those kung fu type pants because they're so comfortable. And the shoes, oh my goodness. I used to wear the kung fu shoes sometimes. I didn't realize they were kung fu shoes. I saw them in the shoe store and I bought them. And people just bust me out. Hey, man, why you wearing kung fu shoes? What you doing? Why you wearing kung fu shoes, Cecil? It's like, I'm not wearing yes, they are. See, you so into that stuff, you wouldn't even realize you wearing kung fu shoes right now. Then this was when I was in college. I wore all black. And I guess the pants were a little baggy because I wanted to wear something I could kick in case somebody started something, right? And this comedian comes on stage. This was like a comedian right before a party. This comedian comes on stage. He goes, can somebody tell me who the brother is that's going around here? What do you say, in a kung fu outfit or something like that? Who was the kung fu outfit brother walking around? And everybody said, Cecil. I was like, oh, God. But it was funny. I laughed too, but it's like, what? Why are you walking around, brother? And why are you walking around like that? And wearing these ninja kung fu outfits? And I'm not the only one that's done this. I've seen people walking around in DC, full-blown swords and stuff on their back. I'm like, dude, why are you wearing a sword? Why you got your sword out? Are you coming from a historical reenactment? That's what I thought. Well, no, as I can walk around, it's legal for me to bear arms, and I can bear my arms. I'm like, nah, you crazy. And, people do the same thing when they're studying something from the black culture, too. So, and that's like colonizing your mind. It's like taking someone's brain, except you're doing it willingly, and you're letting them put that in your head to the point where you start acting weird. Just like the people in Get Out who had been kidnapped and had the brain transplant. They're acting weird. They're acting like themselves. There's this alien presence inside of your mind. When you should be using the martial arts or anything that you study should be to expand your horizons, not to colonize your horizons. You don't replace what you had before. You grow what you had before. Don't let the martial arts make you act weird. Don't let the martial arts make you act like you've had a brain transplant that doesn't even make sense with you, with what you know. So you get out of that. So what else is there? Oh, and in terms of dogma and transplants, I'm sure a lot of people would like to tell you. You always find one group of martial artists that want to tell another group of martial artists to get out of the style that they're studying. People that hate traditional martial arts, they want to tell people to get out of that. People that hate MMA want to tell people to get out of that. People who hate grappling want to tell people to get out of that. People who hate striking want to tell people to get out of that. The only thing I would like to tell you to really get out of in the martial arts is just get out of a this is the only way approach. Not that you can't have a favorite style. I believe in you have your home-based style, whatever it is, and then you look at other things and build on top of that. So my home-based style, technically my home-based style, it actually was Okinawan karate, believe it or not. But then I found Tang Soo Do then I found Taekwondo for a little bit. Actually, let me back up. You really would have to say my home base style was judo, because that's the first thing I actually took. I was too young to remember. It was judo. Then it was karate. Then it was taekwondo. And then taekwondo and tang soo took over. That became my roots. And so, because I went from karate to it was a karate taekwondo hybrid when I finally took formal lessons, to tang soo. And I still had some judo in there, and I took some boxing when I got in the military. So the punch kick became my base. Then I eventually went back and got the judo, and now I started, getting into Kyusho. So I believe you pick your home base because you need a frame of reference, and then you build on top of that. You have a good foundation and something, have a good root art. But get out of not wanting to learn from other people. Get out of just totally slamming entire branches of martial arts. There is something of value in every martial arts faction. And get out of letting the martial arts make you weird. Because you're trying to be more of a member of the culture that the art comes from than people that actually come from there. And let me tell you something. You know what I've learned as I've met people from all over the world through martial arts and through IT too. You know what I find people really appreciate? They just really appreciate you being sincere. You can be curious about their culture. If you're sincerely curious, just ask a question. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to answer it. But don't try to do a brain transplant. Don't do a brain transplant with another culture. Don't do a brain transplant with your instructor's dogma either. Not that you shouldn't listen to your instructor, but think about what they said. Don't just say, I'm just going to stand here. I'm going to let my instructor put his stuff in my brain, and I'm not going to do anything to make it my own. Then they might as well just be working your body like a sock puppet. Just take them. Some people probably would do it too. If they could, they let somebody put part of someone else's brain or in some other martial artist's brain in their body, so they can learn how to do techniques that way instead of actually trying to work it out and move on their own. And I know that's literally true in the case of one style who I will not name, but a practitioner of it I talked to. I was looking at him for lessons, and he said that in order to study the style, you go off in the mountains and you allow yourself to become possessed by the spirit of the style's ancestors. The spirits of the ancestors come into your body and they teach you the techniques that way. That right there, get out of that. No, you don't. Don't let some unseen force take you over in order for you to learn a technique. Get out of that. Please get out of having to be possessed by something to learn. You can't get out of practice though. That's really ultimately read, practice, study, exercise, eat right, do the best you can. I definitely don't have the best body in the world, but I'm literally, whether you believe it or not, I'm doing the best I can. And that's all I can do. So that's the one thing you can't get out of, is doing the best you can with what you have. So this video is done. This is me talking about Get Out, the movie Get Out, in terms of how it relates to martial arts. All right, let me see. I think I've hit everything I wanted to cover. It's a good movie. Oh, one more thing. And I'm going to end it because this thing is almost 20 minutes long now. I'd like to see the idea explored in a movie of somebody using martial arts to survive versus raw instinct. Because you see, Chris, I would say that the character Chris, the little bit of judo that he had as a kid, it probably did give him a good fighting spirit. But he didn't escape with just throws and pins. He had to have fighting spirit and the ability to improvise. So if there's one thing we can add to our training, and this is after we've got our fundamentals down, the ability to improvise, do some type of, role playing, scenario playing. I do that. I don't do it as often with my students now, but I used to do that every now and then. And it's pretty fun just to get them to think, okay, you used to be in here in these pajama looking things. So I set up the class like at this movie theater, turn on the lights. I think I had somebody hold a cell phone. It's like, so what are you going to do if you're in a movie theater now? And somebody attacks you or tries to start something. What are you going to do now? I turn off the lights, put on some music and say, okay, you're dancing at a party. And have them dance. Okay, somebody attacks you. What do you do? What are you going to do with all these other people around? Active shooter scenario. What are you going to do? So, anyway, that's enough of me jabbering about the movie Get Out. And if you'd like to learn more, you can get out of being sedentary and come and take a class for less than a tank of gas. Peace.